Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another tutorial. In the previous episode, we worked on gun swapping. So you can see we have two types of guns now instead of one. And you can adjust the stats as well of the guns, which is cool. We're going to get back to this a bit later when we do item pickups. But for today's episode, we're going to focus on some different types of walls, in particular, tables and windows. So these essentially will function like our walls function, but they'll have a couple different properties when reacting with the bullets. So for example, the tables that we're going to add won't allow the player to walk through them, but they will allow bullets to travel over them. And the windows are going to effectively be walls that shatter when they get hit by a bullet. All right, awesome. So to do that, we're first going to make a couple extra sprites. I'm just going to duplicate the wall sprite. And we're going to add sprite for table. And we're also going to add a sprite for window. Now these sprites here, we're just going to keep the rectangle and we're just going to change the, this is the sprite table. So we might, maybe we use a brown or something for it. Bit of a darker color, so it kind of implies that it's further away, I guess. And then sprite window, do the same thing. We'll just give it a light blue. It's probably a good window color here. And we'll also be making an object for each of these as well. So we have object window. And we'll give that one the window sprite. And then we'll also do object table. And we'll give that one the table sprite. Okay, bada bing, bada boom. Also, just for organization, I'm going to add a group. So if you go over to these files and you right click and you click add create group, it just makes another folder that you can store things in. I'm going to just call these wall objects. Holy fucking shit. Didn't mean to do that. Sorry, pardon my French. So I really shouldn't swear in these tutorials, forgive me. Yeah, so we're chucking all the wall objects in there. We might as well chuck the parent wall in there as well. And that's just for organization. We'll probably filter all these other ones as well when there's multiple versions of them or whatnot. For now, we'll start with the table. And we're just going to give it the parent of the wall. So that way it's going to have the same behavior as our wall has. The only difference we're going to do, we actually don't have to do anything for the table, hilariously, because the table, if I give it parent wall, it's by default inheriting the bullet hit function from our parent, which if you have a look here, I'll just show you. In the parent wall, we are actually also inheriting from parent bullet collision. But essentially our default hit function doesn't do anything. So it doesn't destroy the bullet. It does literally nothing. It shows a debug message. We're probably going to remove that later. So our object table, we actually don't have to do anything. If we just add the parent wall, it will already behave like what we want it to behave like, hilariously. There's actually one thing we do have to do, which is give it a depth. Because we probably want the table to be drawn underneath the bullets. And if we look at the bullet doesn't have a depth right now. We might as well give the bullet a depth as well, to be honest. It might be getting creative with the depth, actually. 1 second. We'll just have a little look-see. See how our bullet... Yeah, so our bullet has a depth of 5. I'm going to change that to a depth of 1. Yeah, we'll make it 1. Why not? Nah, we'll keep it 5. All right. We'll keep it 5. It's fine. Don't worry about that. We don't even have to declare the depth here. I'm going to do it anyways. So we'll make the depth 5 with the bullet, and we'll just make the object table depth even more than the bullet. Now, if you go into the create function, you'll notice it doesn't actually let you type anything. And that's because this is an inherited function. So this is just the function that's in parent bullet collision, which is the parent of the parent wall. And so you can't actually do anything. If you want to add things to the create code, you have to right click here and there's a couple options. Override event means it doesn't have this function here, but we need it to have this function, essentially. It needs to have an fhit function. If we don't have an fhit function, our bullet, when it collides with the parent wall, it's going to try to call this. It's not going to exist, and we're going to get an error. So what you want to do is, instead of overriding, you want to do inherent event. And this means that we can keep this inherited code, but we can also add our own code. So you can see down here, event inherited. This code here, all it does is just runs the parent's code, which is going to be the parent bullet collisions code. We're going to put that at the top, because it makes more sense to me if it's at the top. So we run that first. And then underneath that, we're just going to add our depth, which we can set to, let's set it to 10. So the bullet's 5, we set the depth to 10. Now, the next thing, so this should just work. I might as well just try it out. Just double check. We have a look here. If I add an object table, we can put this wherever we want. You can also extend it just by dragging it out. You can add multiple if you want, but you might as well just use the same one. So let's say this is, for the time being, this is what our table looks like. You can also add like between some walls as well. And if we go into our game, we should be able to fire over the top of the table. And you can see, unlike the walls, it doesn't have the fhit collision code. And we still collide with the table, which is exactly what we want. So we still collide with it, but it's essentially a low wall that we can fire over, but we can't walk over. There we go. And also here you can see this is just going to act like a wall for us, but we can fire over the middle. So that works perfectly. All right, awesome. If we go into object window, it's going to be a little bit different, but still really easy. Like, because we're doing this inheritance system, it's super easy to change things. This one here, we're going to give it parent wall as well, because we want it to behave like a wall for our player's collision. But for this one, we don't want this fhit function. I might copy that, but we're going to write our own fhit function for the window. So we're going to do override event, because we don't care about inheriting anything in this code here. And then we're going to write our own create event for it, which I've just copy pasted the code that we already had here. And the only difference we're going to do is that when the window gets hit, for the time being, we're just going to make the window get destroyed. So it just disappears basically, and the bullet travels through. So to do that, we're just going to write instance destroy, which just destroys the object calling this function, which is the window. So when we get hit by a bullet, the bullet's going to call this function on our window, and the window's going to destroy itself. That's essentially how it works. In here, we will probably change this later. We can do things like, for example, make like window shattering effects and that sort of stuff. I'll probably do that later when I start doing effects, particle effects and whatnot. We can have a bunch of glass particles fly out. We can also have like a intermediate state before it disappears, where it's like cracked glass. We can do that kind of thing, but for now we're just going to make the glass disappear, because this is just the easiest way to do it, and a lot of people who are watching probably want that in their game. So I'll chuck a few more walls and such around, just so you guys can get a feel what's going on here. So I'll show you a couple things actually. So it only destroys, if you look, we'll chuck some more glass, why not? If we stretch this glass out, this is a singular glass object, which means that if anywhere gets hit by the bullet, the entire thing will disappear. Whereas if we tile it like this, where we have separate glass objects, then only one of these will get hit by the bullet at a time. And so if you shoot a bullet through this, for example, this one block's going to disappear. So it's up to you what you'd prefer. You could make, again, there's more complicated things you could do with the glass, where instead of having these boxes like this, you have an object that essentially parts of the glass get removed based on where you shoot, stuff like that. You can do stuff like that. We're not going to do that right now. Later on we might, but I'll just show you these two different variants you can do with what we currently got. The first is having a few different objects. You'll see if I shoot the glass, it just takes a chunk out of the glass like that. Just like that. So it doesn't, you can write a script as well to like chain react, smash all the glass together. But for the most part, to keep it simple, you can just stretch the glass out over the gap, so the whole thing disappears like this. Whole thing goes, shoot the glass out, the whole thing goes. Later on, we just add a thing that checks the size of the glass, adds some particle effects and some smashing. Stuff flies everywhere, it'll look really, really good. But yeah, and also with the glass, I don't know if we showed the collision, but because it's inheriting from parent wall, there shouldn't be any issues with the collision. And you can see that there's no issues with collision. So you can see we've got 3 different types of walls now. One is just a regular wall, stops bullet, stops player. One stops player, lets the bullet destroy it and travel through it. And the third one that we have here allows the player to shoot over it, but it doesn't actually get destroyed. So yeah, that's all that we're doing for today's lesson. It was actually a really, really quick video, to be honest, quicker than most, but yeah, if you guys like the video, make sure to drop a like. Also, leave a comment if you have any comments. If there's a different type of wall that you want to add that I missed here, let me know and I'll give you a little explanation on how to do it. And yeah, this is looking really, really good. So we're making good progress. And yeah, I think in the next episode, we're going to do item pickups. So we did the weapon swapping. It doesn't really make sense to just have 2 random weapons. We're going to have weapons on the floor you can pick up. I'll also show you how to do power-ups and that sort of stuff. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.